How do you begin putting yourself first when you've spent most of your life taking care of everybody else? Well, in today's lesson, I've got some ideas.
One step closer to who I'm meant to be. A brand new chapter, a brand new start, a brand new start. It's my turn now to follow my heart.
Hey girl, hey! Welcome back to class. In my last video, I talked about caregiving, and I want to stay right there for a moment because after that video, I thought to myself, okay, now what? How do you actually begin putting yourself first when you still have responsibilities, challenges, and people depending on you? Because let me be clear, just because I made the decision to put myself back on my priority list doesn't mean life is suddenly smooth, easy, and glitch free. No, baby, nothing could be further from the truth. I still have responsibilities. I still have stressful days. I still have moments when life feels heavy. But what has changed is this. I made a conscious decision to not let myself fall so far down on the list that I become completely depleted, resentful, and disconnected from my own needs. For many years, Life 101 taught me how to be a daughter, a mother, a partner, a friend, and a caregiver. And while those roles matter, somewhere along the way, I forgot about one very important person, myself. So today, I welcome you to a brand new class that I've enrolled in. It's called Me First. Now, before anybody gets upset, let me say this loud and clear. Me First is not about becoming selfish. It's about learning to value yourself as much as you have valued everybody else. It's about understanding that your needs matter too. Your peace matters too. Your health matters too. Your joy matters too. So today's lesson is called Independence. Where do I begin? And the first thing I want to tell you is that it starts with a shift in how you think, a shift in what you allow, a shift in how you show up for yourself. If you have adult children, hear me with love. It may be time to stop doing for them what they're fully capable of doing for themselves. For years, you've been the problem solver, the planner, the chauffeur, the therapist, and the emergency contact. And listen, that's what loving parents do. But there comes a point when doing everything for somebody can actually keep them from developing confidence in themselves. And if you're in a relationship, whether that's with a partner, a parent, a friend, or even a boss, and you've spent more time making their life problem free rather than making room for your own happiness, the same principle applies. At some point, people have to be allowed to carry their own weight, not because you don't love them, but because you do. Because the truth is, none of us are promised forever. And if someone has become so dependent on you that they don't know how to function without you, that's not love in its healthiest form. That's over dependence. And eventually, it hurts both people. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do is step back so that somebody else can step up. Now, let me bring this back to you. Now, if you're in a relationship and you've lost your identity, ask yourself this question. When was the last time I did something just because I wanted to? Not because my partner wanted it, not because my family expected it, not because my friends suggested it, but because I wanted it. And if you're not in a relationship, but you still feel disconnected, stuck, or a little lost in the season of life, please know you're not alone. A whole lot of women reach a point where they look around and quietly wonder, what happened to me? Where did that in-demand, confident woman go? But the good news is this. She's not gone. She may just be waiting for an invitation to come forward again. And that brings me to the second part of today's lesson, one step at a time. Dr. Martin Luther King said, faith is taking the first step, even when you can't see the whole staircase. And I freaking love that quote because so many of us keep waiting until everything makes sense before we begin. We tell ourselves, I'll start after life calms down. I'll start after I feel more confident. I'll start after I lose weight. I'll start after retirement. I'll start after the hard season passes. But life doesn't usually work like that. A lot of times, confidence comes after the first step, not before it. And putting yourself first doesn't always begin with some huge dramatic move. Sometimes it begins with something small, quiet, and deeply personal. Maybe your first step is taking a walk by yourself. Maybe it's joining a gym. Maybe it's going to lunch alone. Maybe it's saying no without explaining yourself. Maybe it's finally signing up for that class you keep talking yourself out of. Maybe your first step is 10 minutes of peace with your phone on silence and no guilt attached. Maybe it's looking in the mirror and saying, I matter too. No step is too small. Every meaningful change begins with one decision, one action, one moment where you decide that your future doesn't have to look exactly like your past. For me, my shift came when the little voice inside of me started screaming. It kept saying to me, girl, you're not happy. You're just comfortable. You're so comfortable that you forgot about your passions, your dreams, and your promise to yourself to not close your eyes for the very last time without living the best life possible. There's still time. So my first shift was walking away from the very last relationship where I shrank to make the other person feel important. My second shift was realizing that my biggest growth spurts, my biggest wins came when I was by myself. Now, that may sound sad to you, but it's not to me. I now have a level of peace when I lie my head down on a pillow that I wouldn't trade for any amount of money. And if I do meet someone else, I promise you, they'll have to rise to a place where I place my bar, where not just any old person can reach it. I now have hardwired standards. And if no one ever is to be in my future, that's fine. I'm good with it. Peace is more important for me now. So for this week's assignment in Me First 101, I want you to ask yourself one question. What's one thing I can do this week for me? Not next month, not next year, this week, and then do it. And if you feel comfortable, leave it down in the comments. I would love to know what your one thing is, because your independence doesn't begin with a giant leap. It begins with a single step. Thank you so much for joining me in class today. And remember, your life's not over. Your story is not finished. In many ways, it's just beginning. And this time, baby, it's your turn now. If this message spoke to you, please like, subscribe, and share it with another woman who may need this reminder too. I'll be back. You can count on it.
It's your turn now. Take the first step and prioritize yourself. Oh, oh. You had nothing but success waiting for you, nothing but success.